that you are going to use polyacrylamide gel, and then this electrophoresis can be of two types, continuous and discontinuous electrophoresis. And in discontinuous electrophoresis, if you remember from the last class, we were discussing the differences between stacking gel and resolving gel. So the two gels, so this part also we covered in the last class. So discontinuous gel electrophoresis or SDS page was discovered by a scientist called UK Lamely in 1976, and he proposed that we can have better resolution, like the resolution will be much better as compared to continuous gel electrophoresis if we introduce this discontinuity. Okay, so the discontinuity was introduced with respect to 2 points. Number one, with respect to pH, and number two, with respect to pore size. So when we say with respect to pH, so the two layers differed with respect to pH. For example, the top layer had a pH of 6.8 and the bottom layer had a pH of 8.8. The pore size was also different. The gel was made up of the conventional acrylamide, bisacrylamide, which is first one is monomer, the second one is cross-linker, timid as the catalyst, ammonium persulfate as the initiator, and SDS as the detergent, because it can denature the protein and it imparts negative charge to the protein. Right, so then the question is, so we discussed in the class the differences with respect to pH. Now the differences are also there with respect to pore size. We talk about the stacking gel class. So stacking gel has a bigger pore or smaller pore? What do you think? Stacking gel will have larger pores or smaller pores?
It should have larger pores.
Larger pores.
Very good. Larger pores means higher gel percentage or lower gel percentage?
Lower percentage.
People use 4 to 5% gel, and resolving gel has smaller pores. And as the term itself says, for resolving, that means for resolving the bands, for separation of bands. So here the pore size can vary from as large as 10% to you can go even up to 20% depending upon the size of the protein. But usually for proteins, 10 to 15% gel is good enough. When we talk about 20% gel, then we are talking about peptides. For bigger proteins, 10 to 15% gel is fair enough. Okay. The question is why is the term stacking is used and why is the term resolving is used? Any idea?
Ma'am, stacking is basically they first accumulate it like in one place, and resolving using the smaller pores, they can have a better separation of the
Yes.
proteins.
Yes, but how is this accumulation achieved? Is this accumulation achieved? Have you studied this or no? Yes or no?
Ma'am, can you please repeat?
So the question was how is the stacking effect achieved? So in stacking gel, the proteins accumulate and then they separate in the resolving gel. So the question is, how is this accumulation achieved? Have you studied this?
Ma'am, I don't remember.
No, ma'am. In BBL one, no, ma'am.
Okay. So then for this part you need to pay a little more. So the buffer that is used is the running buffer that is used is trisglycine ETTA, and it also contains SDS. So when we say SDS page, SDS is there in the gel, SDS is there in the running buffer, SDS is there in the sample buffer, everywhere. Okay. But then what is important is the use of the amino acid glycine. So what is done is that, in the running buffer, the amino acid glycine is used. Because Witter ionic condition is the condition when you have equal number of positive and negative charges. But depending upon the pH, right? Depending upon the pH, the charges can vary, and therefore what happens is that this glycine ion, this has a pi, which is the isoelectric point. So this pi is about 5.9. Now if you remember, the stacking gel has a pH of 6.8. You remember that? So
Yes.
what happens? So what happens is that when the proteins are loaded on the gel and when they come in contact with the running buffer has a pH actually of around 8. But then what happens is that the moment they enter the stacking gel, right? So this glycinate ion, it becomes slower. Why? Because the pi of glycinate ion is 5.9. I have a figure to show you this right here. So what you see is there, so so the pH of the stacking gel is 6.8, lower percentage acrylamide. The bottom gel is pH 8.8. So what happens is that the moment the glycinate ions enter over here, if you see, don't pay attention to the concentrations, just have a look at the reagents which are used. SDS I told you is used. The blue, so the dyes I am going to discuss in a second. So the blue dye is actually the loading dye with which the samples are mixed, right? SDS confers negative charge to the protein. So that is why you see that the protein has completely denatured and it is coated uniformly with negative charge. So therefore, in this case, the protein separates completely based upon the molecular weight. Point number one. So the purpose of SDS is two. Number one, it imparts negative charge to the protein, and number two, it denatures the protein. So therefore, protein separates completely based upon molecular weight. Now, if you have a situation where, for example, there are two subunits of the protein, right? So in this case, when we do SDS page, you can add SDS and you can also add reducing agents such as beta mercaptoethanol or dithiothriatol. So what happens is that the subunits can also get separated. Okay, so SDS page is a method which is used to determine the molecular weight of a protein. You can have the different subunits separated. You can identify how many subunits are there in that protein. You can also identify whether the subunits are linked by disulfide bridges by treating the gel, by preparing the gel with and without reducing agent. So for example, in one case you just add SDS and in the other case you add SDS plus TTT, and then if you see the differences, you can even explain this point as well, that whether the subunits are linked by disulfide bridges. Okay, so now the resolution part. So this is how the figure looks like. So how the discontinuities helps in focusing of the protein sample. So this glycine has a pi of 5.9. So the moment it enters here, this becomes slow, right? And what happens is that the buffer has stress Cl. So the chloride ion is a high mobility anion, and this one will become slower. Now if you see here the proteins, so this actually helps in the creation of this stacking effect. So chloride ion is the high mobility ion and glycinate ion is slowed down because of the pi, and because of the pH it becomes partly zwitterionic, and therefore its migration gets really slowed down, and therefore a stacking effect is created in the sense that chloride ion and glycinate ion, so the proteins get trapped between the two ions. The proteins get trapped between the high mobility chloride ion and the slow mobility glycinate ion. So which is shown over here. So you see that the chloride ion and then the slow dipolar glycinate ion and then the proteins are stacked. So this is how the stacking effect is created, students. So if we do not, so that's the main advantage of using glycine. So if we do not have this glycine in the buffer, you will not create stacking effect. Right, so stacking effect is something like sandwiching the protein between two ions. It's like, you can imagine like a sandwich where you have some stuffing and then you have the sandwich bread upper, top and bottom, something like this. Now the problem is, if we do not have glycinate ion, then what will happen? Why it doesn't result in a better resolution? Class, are you people following?
Yes, ma'am.
So then tell me why.
Ma'am, all the proteins will have like the same charges, or and they will be what is called uh, they will be they will what is called, I don't know. They will not come at one place.
Right. So what will happen is that all the proteins have same charge. That is true, because you have coated the protein with SDS. So the proteins are uniformly negatively charged. But you imagine that the situation will be something like this. So you have the proteins loaded over here. If the stacking effect is not created, class, then the protein which is just touching the bottom of the well will start migrating ahead, and the protein which is just at the top of the well will be lagged behind. Are you getting my point? So they will not be, and that is why the resolution will not be nice. It will be fuzzy like a broadband. Is this making sense or no? Arey, what happened to my class?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Yes.
Okay. So many a times people, when they do continuous gel electrophoresis, then in that case they do not use, but otherwise for SDS page this is used. This phenomenon is also called as isotachophoresis, and this results in uh, band sharpening effect. So what happens is that, okay, oh, so in case up to here it is clear, then I will show you the picture what happens at the resolving gel. So at the resolving gel class, you will see that the pH is 8.8, right? So in the stacking gel, the pH was 6.8. In the resolving gel, the pH is 8.8. So because of this high pH, 8.8, the glycinate ion will also have negative charge, and therefore the glycinate ion will also become more mobile, and therefore the mobility will be in the order that chloride ion will have the highest mobility, followed by glycinate ion, followed by proteins. And these proteins, because they have uniformly negative charge, they will now separate in the resolving gel based upon the molecular weight. Right? So I hope the basis of SDS page is clear. Who is going to explain it one more time? Then we go to native gel. Jaskin sir, are you
Ma'am,
there?
ma'am,
Mhm.
ma'am, I was asking like by SDS the protein is being like charged. Then how will that be like uniform?
Say it again. SDS, using SDS, the protein is charged, yes.
Yes. So then how will be that like uniform? Like how do we know that like if they are uniformly charged? Like it can be like one protein is have low have less charge than another.
No. So that is why. So it is like, it has already been demonstrated that, so you see most proteins bind SDS. You see this sentence. Most proteins bind SDS at a constant ratio, 1 SDS molecule per 2 amino acids. So it's like it actually swarms the native charge of the protein in the sense that it completely coats the protein with uniformly negative charge.
Ma'am, it's basically that the charge to mass ratio would be similar.
Exactly. So the separation is completely based upon mass.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Understood.
So that is why this figure is drawn, that you have the protein and SDS has coated the protein.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what about others? Jaskin Singh, would you like to brief? Dhwani? These people have left. Agrim Sharma, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you like to brief us about this?
Ma'am, I have
SDS.
in the last lecture, so I'm not kind of understanding it.
No, whatever we discussed in today's class, it was clear or no? Do you want me to
Yes,
explain one more time?
ma'am, it was clear. It was clear.
So then just let's see. Because the reason I want you people to understand is because this technique will be used in a number of courses in the next 1 year or 2 years, whatever you have. 1.5 years maybe. Would you like to try? I will help you. Nobody wants to try. Jaskin Singh, Dev Priya. Dev Priya followed or no? Or these people, they just disappeared or what?
Can you please explain again?
Okay.
I understood that SDS and uniform charge density. That I understood.
Yes. That you understood. Okay. And this you understood, that what is the difference between stacking gel and resolving gel?
No, ma'am.
No? Oh, okay. So the difference between stacking gel and resolving gel was with respect to uh, pH and with respect to pore size, right? So this is important. So stacking gel has larger pore size and pH 6.8. Resolving gel has smaller pore size, pH 8.8. Okay. So when we say discontinuity, maybe I will insert another slide. So the discontinuity in SDS page is with respect to pH and gel percentage. So stacking gel has a pH of 6.8. Larger pores. Solving gel has of 8.8 and smaller pores. Students, I think there was some issue with the net. Can you hear me or no?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am. We can hear.
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
So we were discussing, can you see the slides?
yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Now we can.
Right. So Devpri, are you there? So the difference in stacking and resolving gel is with respect to pH and pore sizes. So this part is clear to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so then the point that I was trying to make over here is that, so the question we are trying to answer is how is stacking effect created? This is the question that we are trying to understand. How is stacking effect created and how this is useful in a better resolution. So we are trying to understand this part, that how the stacking effect is created, first point, and second point, how this stacking is useful in better resolution. So to create the stacking effect, the buffer used is tris glycine SDS. So tris glycine means it actually is tris chloride, tris-Cl, and it also contains glycine and it also contains SDS. Okay, so the point I was trying to make is the role of glycine, the role of this glycine in the running buffer is important in creating the stacking effect. Okay, and for that the figure illustrates this very nicely, that what you have is, if you see this figure, so this figure shows that you have tris-Cl, you have glycinate ion, you have SDS, right? Now when the protein is loaded on the wells of the gel, right, so the top gel is stacking gel, the bottom gel is resolving gel. The top gel has pH 6.8, the bottom gel has pH 8.8. The top gel has larger pores, the bottom gel has smaller pores. Up to here it is fine.
Yes, ma'am.
Now what happens is that when this running buffer, right, which contains tris-Cl, glycine, SDS, when we turn the current on, so what happens is that these glycinate ions, they enter into the stacking gel. Okay, so the moment they enter in the stacking gel has a pH of 6.8. Glycinate ions have a pI of 5.9. So 5.9 is pretty close to 6.8. So as a result of this, what happens is that the glycinate ions, they become partly Zwitter ionic, and because of this their mobility gets slowed down. So what happens is that the chloride ion coming from tris-Cl, the chloride ion will be anionic and it will migrate faster. The glycinate ion, because it becomes partly Zwitter ionic at pH 6.8, because stacking gel has a pH of 6.8, so it becomes partly Zwitter ionic and therefore its mobility is retarded, and therefore the stacking effect is created. And this stacking effect is created because the proteins, the SDS protein complex, is sandwiched between the fast moving chloride ion and the slow moving glycinate ion, which you can see it on your screen. So chloride ion is a high mobility anion, and then you have the slow dipolar ion, which is glycinate, and then the blue band is the protein SDS complex, protein coated with SDS. So see how they are forming a single thin line. And once this stacking effect is created, so stacking means sandwiching between two ions, and this helps in forming one line. It helps in creating a stacking effect, and this is the reason you get better resolution, because all the proteins, they migrate from one particular point. Otherwise, if you do not have this stacking effect, then all the proteins will migrate from different positions. So if you see the the blue band, which is like the sample loaded on the well, so the one which is at the bottom will migrate faster, the one which is at the top will be lagged behind, because they all will enter the gel at different time points, right? And they will separate accordingly. So the bands will not be resolved. It will form a fuzzy, it will give you a fuzzy picture. Whereas in this case, when you have the stacking effect created, this helps in better resolution of the bands because of this stacking effect. Once the protein complex and once this whole enters the resolving gel, so the resolving gel has a pH of 8.8, and this has what, smaller or larger pores, you remember? This has smaller pores. Smaller pores. Very good. So what happens is that the chloride ion will be migrating faster because it is anionic. This glycinate ion, the moment it enters a gel with a pH of 8.8, so then instead of zwitterionic, it will also become anionic, and so it will also start migrating faster. And this protein, which is coated with SDS, this will enter the gel, although they are all having uniform charge, but then the proteins will start separating based upon the molecular weight, because the gels have the bottom gel has smaller pores, so this is going to serve as a molecular sieve, and the proteins will separate based upon the size or based upon the molecular weight. Is it clear?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Dev Priya, Agrim Sharma.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. So once you separate the bands class, we use dyes which are called as staining dyes. Staining dyes which are used are commonly Kumasi, Brilliant Blue. Kumasi Brilliant Blue is the staining dye which is usually used, and then you can put it in a destaining solution, and then you will see the bands of the protein. The loading dye in this case, people again use bromophenol blue as the loading dye, because again the purpose is just to impart the color so that you can see the front. The loading dye should also have glycerol, and the purpose of glycerol is again to impart density to the solution. Important is it should also contain SDS, and it should also contain DDT or beta mercaptoethanol in case you are running an SDS page in the presence of reducing agents. Okay, so the applications, so a number of other staining dyes are used, which I will be telling you in a second. But overall, I hope the basis of SDS page is clear to you, the basic principle. Like, what is the purpose of SDS? What is the purpose of stacking? Why discontinuous gels are helpful with when we compare it with continuous gels, right?
Yes.
Ma'am, in this case, we observe that in this is
Ratnesh, your voice is not clear. Say it again.
I'm saying that in this case, how do we observe this staining dye in fluorescent microscope, or I
Okay.
don't know
So
about that.
no, so Kumasi Brilliant Blue is actually visible. It's not a fluorescent dye. It works in the visible range, but then there are a number of fluorescent dyes as well. For example, Psi3, Psi5. These are fluorescent dyes. These are cyanine dyes. I think I have a slide for the dyes as well. But I had kept it towards the end once I explain you the various dyes. Right, so these are the dyes, Ratnesh. So Kumasi Brilliant Blue R250, the sensitivity is 50 to 100 nanograms. Colloidal Kumasi sensitivity is 5 to 10 nanograms. We also use silver stain. We also use copper stain, zinc stain, Cypro Ruby, Psi3, Psi5. A number of such dyes are used.
Ma'am, this sensitivity is the minimum amount of protein required to show the color.
I do not know what are they doing every time the call is dropping. So could you hear students or no?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
Oh.
A slide is also visible now.
Okay. So you will get a picture something like this where the gel will look completely transparent and the bands will appear. You can just see by your naked eyes. And the blue band is the stained protein.
Just a second. Ma'am, in the like before the connection went off, you were discussing about the sensitivity. So is the
Oh,
sensitivity the
so you did not hear the negative and positive stains? No.
no, ma'am?
No,
Oh
ma'am.
my God. Acha. So we were discussing sensitivity. So sensitivity, Vishantan. So we discussed that silver stain and fluorescent dyes have higher sensitivity in the sense that even 1 nanogram of DNA will also be visible. Then I explained you that these stains can be classified into two types: positive stain and negative stain. So positive stain are the stains where the proteins are stained. For example, Kumasi brilliant blue is a dye which imparts blue color to the protein. So the proteins are stained. Fluorescent dyes such as Cypro Ruby, Cy3, Cy5, they are all positive stains because the proteins are stained in these gels. On the other hand, you have a situation where the stains are called negative stains. So in this case, the background is stained, right? The background is stained and wherever the protein is, right? And the protein band were transparent. So now you must be thinking that what is the purpose of negative stain? So you will see just an inverse picture. So for example, this is a picture of Kumasi stained gel where you can see the Kumasi stained proteins by visible eye. Wherever the bands are there, your protein of interest is present. When we talk about negative stains, what we'll see is you will just make an inverse of this image. That means the background will appear stained. For example, zinc, copper, these are all negative stains, so they will get deposited on the gel and the protein band will actually appear completely transparent. Is this clear or no?
Yes, ma'am.
So now the question is why and when do we need a positive stain and when do we need a negative stain? So the problem with positive stains is that when you want to proceed the protein for further experiments, you need to actually remove the stain, right? Because the protein is bound to the stain. You're getting this idea? Getting this point or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Whereas
Yes, ma'am.
Whereas when we use negative stain, because the background is stained, you can carefully cut the transparent band and then you don't have to worry about removing the stain. Yes?
Ma'am, how do they
Yes.
take these proteins for further analysis? Like if they are in the gel, then how do
Yes.
they remove the proteins?
Right, so we are going to discuss this in the later classes, Vishantan. So there are ways. The technique is called as gel elution. So we can cut the desired band and then we can elute the protein out.
Fine, ma'am.
And then this protein can be used for determining the sequence, which is called as N-terminal sequencing if you want to determine the sequence from N-terminus, or you can do de novo sequencing where you can determine the complete polypeptide sequence, something like this, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, one thing, I can why do we use if Comacin staining is visible to naked eyes, then why do we use loading dye? What is the purpose of that? In the case of DNA, when we use fluorescent protein, that dye is not visible. That's why I use a loading dye. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
I think ma'am it is offline.
Yes.
Students, can you hear me now? I do not.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. We
Wrong.
can hear you.
The campus. This is the 4th or 5th time today. I do not know what are they doing in the campus. Okay, so can you see the slides, class?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So the loading buffer actually is contains bromophenol blue, SDS, beta percaptoethanol or DTT, glycerol. So glycerol to impart density, beta percaptoethanol or DTT to reduce disulfide bonds, SDS to denature the protein and impart negative charge, and phenol blue to
Ma'am,
yes,
I was
right.
asking a question before you leave. I was asking a question. Did you hear that?
Yes, I'm coming to that question. I could hear that. That why
Okay.
Kumasi is used and why not bromophenol blue. I'm coming to that. So bromophenol blue, students, bromophenol blue is used as a tracking dye because of its size, right? So bromophenol blue has a very small size, and therefore when we load the bromophenol blue and when it runs, right? So you can easily see if I open the gel image over here. So almost at the end, so for example something at around 9 or 10 kDa band, you will see the bromophenol blue. So because of its small size, it is used as a dye, and here it is used as a tracking dye because like when this has reached at the bottom, then this is the time to stop the run. Okay. Kumasi Brilliant Blue is not used as a loading dye for two reasons. First, because of its size, it is much bigger than bromophenol blue. Number two, Kumasi Brilliant Blue, the way it stains the protein is it binds to cysteine residues, it binds to amino acids, right? So if we use Kumasi Brilliant Blue, it will specifically bind to proteins and therefore it can affect the mobility of the protein. You are getting my point. When you are performing an SDS page, you want to use a dye which is not binding to the protein at all, because protein is already coated with SDS, which has imparted negative charge to the protein, and you just want to separate the proteins based upon molecular weight. Bromophenol blue, when it is used, it is not binding to the protein. It is not in any ways class binding to the protein. It just moves ahead, and once it reaches at the bottom of the gel, you know that okay, this is the time to switch off the current, and then you can just stain the gel with Kumasi. Kumasi will bind to the protein. Bromophenol blue will not bind to the protein. That's the main difference. So loading dye is used for tracking the electrophoresis front. Class, can you hear me or again I am out?
Ma'am,
Yes,
we can
ma'am.
hear you.
We can hear you.
Okay. Is
Ma'am,
this
one more question.
Rajnish?
Ma'am,
Yes. Vishantan, yes.
ma'am, in this figure, like, why do like lanes 6 and 7 have such a long trail and other lanes don't have a trail?
Right. So this is based upon the different samples. So maybe in the next class I will show you some of the real I mean gels. So for example, I can clearly tell you from this gel the if I label the gel from, okay, let's do it like this. The leftmost and the rightmost lanes, they contain molecular weight marker, where you can see the bands ekdam consistent at both the places.
Yes, ma'am.
Right, so that is molecular weight marker. The lanes which are third and fourth lane from the right, which are showing the hazy multiple bands. So this is likely to contain the protein extract from cellular protein extract. And if you remember from the earlier classes, a cell is an E. coli is likely to contain how many genes? Hare? Class, can you hear me or I'm again?
Ma'am,
Ma'am, we can hear.
We
Okay.
can hear you.
ma'am, can you please
Uh,
repeat the question?
The question is how many genes are there in E. coli? We discussed in one of the earlier classes, don't forget.
Ma'am, E. coli, like the whole DNA is almost made up of genes. I do not remember the number.
Roughly, I am not asking you to tell me like 191 or 181, just roughly 4.6 megabase pairs is the size of the genome, right? And what is the approximate size of a gene?
Around 1,000 bases.
1000.
Yeah,
Yes.
ma'am. 1 kb around.
Okay. So how many genes?
Around 4 to 5,000.
4 to 5,000. Very good, Vishantan. So that is one. So when you have 4,500 proteins, you cannot resolve them on an SDS page because there are too many bands, right? So in this case, you will see a picture like this. So what you are seeing in lane number 3 and 4 is a cellular extract. There are multiple bands which are giving you a smeared picture. The bands are not resolved at all and they vary in intensity. Some proteins are highly abundant, some proteins are low in abundance, and some proteins are almost negligible in abundance, but they are there. But they are not detectable by COMASI. So they will become visible by silver stain or any other sensitive stain. Right?
So, ma'am, why did they like perform SDS page for this case?
Yes, right. So SDS page is performed, for example, to see when you are purifying a protein from a sample. So in this case, what people do is that you load first the cellular extract, right? Then you load, for example, when you start purification, then you pass it, for example, if the protein is 40 kDa, so in that case you can use a gel permeation column. Maybe you haven't studied, but maybe we'll discuss in later classes. So there are ways to cut down or based upon the molecular weight. There are ways to do salting in and salting out. For example, ammonium sulfate precipitation can be done so that a few proteins get concentrated, which you are seeing in the fourth and fifth lane, right? And then in the sixth and seventh lane you can see just one band, which is kind of purified protein. So when you perform SDS page class, so ultimately why you run all the samples is because ultimately you want to determine the fold purification, that from a crude extract where your protein was present in minority, let's say 5%. So how the purification was performed and how it helped in enhancing the fold purification, something like this. Getting my point or not?
Yes, ma'am.
So
Yes, ma'am. We're getting one question, ma'am. Like in this case, like COMASI is visible. Then why do we have to even use a loading dye?
अरे अभी तो बताया loading dye doesn't bind to protein.
No, ma'am, but COMASI is visible. Then why? Like we can use just one, like just a COMASI off, and
नहीं.
we do not use a loading dye.
No, so कुमासी will bind to the protein, right? तो अगर कुमासी से protein bind कर गया तो it can impair the mobility because the protein is coated with SDS. So once the separation is achieved based upon molecular weight, then you allow the any dye which binds to the protein is used thereafter because you want the protein to be separated based upon the molecular weight.
Okay, ma'am. So first we just run using loading dye. After that the loading happened, and after that we how do we run the COMASI dye after that? Like
No, you do not run the Kumasi dye.
no, yeah.
Once you see that bromophenol blue has reached at the bottom of the gel, you switch the current off, take the gel out between the which is present between the two glass plates, carefully remove the glass plates, right? Take the gel out, immerse it in a staining solution. So the staining solution is Kumasi Brilliant Blue, which is put in a glass tray. So you immerse the gel in a glass tray and then put it in a rocker for like 30 minutes to 1 hour. Depending upon, so this dye can be reused a number of times. So depending upon if it's a freshly prepared dye, 1 hour is good enough for staining. If it's an old solution, what students do is that since the running takes like 2 to 3 hours, so students what they do is they just immerse the gel in the staining dye and then leave it overnight in the rocker. Next morning when you will come, you will see the entire gel blue. Then what you do is you add glacial acetic acid and then you will see that the background will become clean and the protein bands will be visible.
Yeah, ma'am. Now I understood. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. So and this is how the apparatus looks like. This is how the apparatus looks like. So these are the glass plates. The what you are seeing on green is the comb, the plastic comb which is used for preparing the wells. This is the lid. This is from Biorad, which we have it in UG lab. And then this is connected with the cords, and this can be connected to the power pack. We also have this kind of apparatus in the UG lab where you can load. So in this case, the whole tank is filled with the running buffer. Whereas in this case, we have both kinds of apparatus in the UG lab. So when you will visit the lab, you will get a chance to use it. So in this case, the upper tank and the lower tank is filled with running buffer and the gel is here. So then you can just, once the run is complete, you can actually separate it. So hope it is clear to the class.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so then the applications of SDS page are, it can be used for determining the molecular weight of the protein. It can tell you the subunit composition of the protein, right? You can identify how many subunits are there, because in an SDS page the protein will denature, and because you are adding reducing agents, the subunits will get separated, and you can add the subunits to determine the total molecular weight. So you can determine the total molecular weight and you can determine the subunit composition, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so then the other possibility is to go for native page. So native page, as the term itself says, that means the gel electrophoresis is performed under native conditions.
Ma'am, you are not audible now.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what is wrong today? So native page, so native page, as the term itself says, the proteins are separated based upon their native conformation. So that means no SDS, no DTT, no beta mercaptoethanol, right? So that means in this case, you can determine, you can actually separate the proteins based upon their conformation. Or for example, if you have a protein complex, for example, in biochemistry, you have studied pyruvate dehydrogenase complex, right? So pyruvate dehydrogenase complex has multiple proteins. You remember that? So in this case, you can separate the whole complex as well. So native page, students, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay. So here you are separating completely based upon the conformation, right? So this is a typical gel of a native page which is performed under non-denaturing conditions, and maybe from here I will explain you. So Ornstein and Davis, the credit goes to the two scientists, Ornstein and Davis, who first proposed this high resolution page system for native page. But then people realized that we can also perform native page Ratnesh was asking. Ratnesh, so here is the answer to your question. So this page is now called blue native page. So one is called clear native page. As can you hear me or no?
Yes, ma'am.
We can hear
Yes,
you.
ma'am, we can.
Okay, clear native page is when you are not mixing any dye. Clear native page means you are just using bromophenol blue for a migration and then you stain the proteins later. Clear native page, the resolution is not the best, but then people do use clear native page because then you can separate the entire protein. For example, many proteins exist as oligomers, some proteins exist as monomers, some exist as dimers, some exist as octamer. So you can separate the octameric form of the protein by native page. You can separate the hexameric form of the protein by native page. So that means you can determine the conformation of the protein. But then over the years, people realize that clear native page gives us the conformation, but then it doesn't give the best resolution. So therefore, like Ratnesh was asking, like why we do not use Kumasi Brilliant Blue. So in this case, Ratnesh, for native page, because you are not using SDS, right? You are not using SDS, you are not imparting any charge to the protein. So in this case, what you use is you use a dye, the same dye, Kumasi Brilliant Blue. In this case, Kumasi Brilliant Blue can be used this case, Kumasi Brilliant Blue, it can be used at the time of loading, and in this case it has been observed that it doesn't affect the conformation of the protein, right? And then class following or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, and
Yes, ma'am.
because it imparts blue color, and therefore that page is called as blue native page. So because Ratnesh had raised this issue, that is why I thought maybe I should explain you. Otherwise, this is the part which we discuss in proteomics. So Ratnesh followed. So when you are using STS page, STS imparts negative charge to the protein, so no need to add Kumasi. You'd add Kumasi only at a later stage, but when you are performing native page, you can add Kumasi, which will again impart negative charge to the protein, and then you can have separation. But here the separation is based upon the conformation of the protein, and Kumasi doesn't denature the protein. So the difference between SDS and Kumasi is, don't get confused. SDS denatures the protein, Kumasi doesn't denature the protein. Kumasi maintains the native state of the protein. Followed?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
So native page is used for determining the conformation of the protein, the oligomeric state of the protein, right? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So then, oh, it's already 10. So maybe I'll stop here. Maybe just a few more, maybe just one point, or should I discuss in tomorrow's class?
We can discuss in tomorrow's class.
Okay. Okay, students. So if you have any doubts from today's class, we can discuss it in tomorrow's class as well. Devpriya, Agrim, Nikhil, followed or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good.
Thank you, ma'am.
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 Okay.